Okay, she be gone every single night. Day and night on my mind, pushing you to vibe.
How's it going, everybody? This is Todd Drabo. Hope you're having another great day, and welcome back to another video. Alright, so if you happen to work in an office level job like I do, where I work in the New Jersey Symphony in an office level setting, obviously the 5-day work week is obviously very, very common. However, in recent years, there's been a lot of other nations outside the US that has occupied a 4-day work week. And for some of them, they've had their positives, but also their negatives as well. But there's been a lot of talk about a 4-day work week being a potential benefit for those that want to have a shorter work week and enough time so that way they can be able to get all their work done while spending a lot more time at home with their family and friends, and just enjoy life. And for some of those nations that have employed those 4-day work weeks, it has been a huge benefit as a result of all those benefits. This has led to a lot of talk about whether or not it's time to implement the 4-day work week here in the US instead of continuing with a traditional 5-day work week. And I feel like that's something that I want to talk about here. So for this one, it's going to be another pros and cons video. For this one, I'm going to be talking about the pros and cons of a 4-day work week and whether or not they should implement it here in the United States. This is something that a lot of businesses have been a little wary about doing lately, so I thought I'd cover that topic here for this video and discuss whether I think this is something that should be explored here in the US. Now, unfortunately, retail places do not count in this because they're literally 24/7 every single day, so sorry to everybody that works in retail, but this is just mainly for those that work in an office level setting or those that currently occupy a 9-to-5 level job 5 days a week. So this is something that I feel like that really needs to look at in the future because it might have some benefits into it. But again, at the same time, who knows exactly what could happen in a 4-day work week. So obviously the idea of implementing a 4-day work week instead of a 5-day work week is that you take one day off of your actual work week, which is usually in this case Friday. And then obviously every single week, everybody will work at Monday through Thursday, usually from around 9 to 5 or whatever schedule that they usually will work at, and try to get as much done as possible. And then they get the whole entire weekend, an extra day, Friday through Sunday, to enjoy life, to enjoy home, and just enjoy being with your family. Obviously, there are some benefits that allow something like that to happen with a positive effect. And one of those benefits, and this goes to say for everybody saves. That's right, everybody saves money. A 4-day work week is a huge way to be able to cut costs. Like, for example, whatever office that you work at, whether it's in my case, which is a musical organization, or maybe a financial job, or maybe some real major organization like a sports week or something like that that has a 9-to-5 level setting. By implementing a 4-day work week, you are able to cut costs for the amount of time that you spend at the actual workplace, because one less day there helps allow you to save a lot of money in regards to whether there's any damages that have to be incurred while you're at the office, or whether or not you want to lower the depth of the time that you use the workplace there, whether it's the amount of money that's used in depth as well. It's a good way to be able to cut that cap and save a lot of money as well. Not only that, the employees themselves saves as well. Obviously, it's one less day to travel, which means they get to save that money that they potentially could have used on gas, or obviously if you're on a hybrid schedule and let's say you work on a Tuesday through Thursday or a Monday through Wednesday, that's also a benefit as well. It can really go either way. And not only that, it's less travel as well. So you don't have to go very far and back from your home all the way to your workplace, especially let's say if you live in New Jersey and your workplace is literally in the city of New York and you have to deal with a lot of traffic and all of that. And trust me, nobody wants to go through that at all. So yeah, everybody gets a chance to save a lot of money. And not only that, obviously all those benefits and all the hours that are accrued as well. Obviously, those benefits will still be the same. However, one less work day means that obviously it's not a lot more that's being put out of your weekly paycheck, which means obviously you get to have a little bit more of an extra $1 or $2 on it, which could be a positive. Yeah, I know it's not much, but it's definitely something that could be a positive for the employee at the very end. Another positive is that it motivates the employees more. Obviously, the opportunity to work 4 days a week instead of 5 days a week, it gives the employees a chance to become become a lot more motivated to be able to come in and work a 4-day work schedule. You know, obviously everybody's going to get a chance to come in, get excited, and you know, obviously all that work they have to get done, hey, it's a chance for you to stay more focused, an opportunity for you to be able to work on that schedule, be able to get all of your stuff done, and then go home, celebrate a 3-day weekend with your family, and you know, just get to enjoy a little bit of your time off. And trust me, that can definitely become a huge benefit for the health of those employees. I know working at an office level job is not really motivating. As I mentioned before, it's probably one of the most boring jobs there is out there, but it still provides a lot of benefits. And I believe that if you have a 4-day work week, it gives them that extra motivation to be able to come in and get out, do everything that they have to do, so that way they can enjoy that weekend while making sure that everything is done in a certain amount of time. And this is something that can definitely help. One more benefit is that it increases the retention rate. Obviously, as I mentioned before, motivation means better work, and better work leads to a higher retention rate. And that can really play a huge dividends for those that are looking to build up their employment and also add more employees into the workforce. In studies that I've seen internationally, those that have implemented a 4-day work week have been able to implement a higher retention rate for some of those employees than those with just a standard 5-day work week or a retail job. And so that's something that I feel like that could be a real benefit here in the US. You know, having that 4-day work week gives the employees a chance to be more motivated to work. And as a result, they can probably do a lot better job in a 4-day work week compared to a 5-day work week. As a result, it will make them want to stay on board longer. And as a result, they get a better salary, get more opportunities at promotions, and more importantly, everybody's having a lot more fun. So yeah, the longer that you're there, the better the retention rate is going to be. And by implementing a 4-day work week, you get an opportunity to make that retention rate more than what it normally is. So yeah, there are a lot of benefits to a 4-day work week, but there's also quite a bit of negatives as well. And that's really because some people may not find it to be a real good idea. And really, one of the reasons why I think it could be a bad idea to implement it is because it ends up risking a compressed schedule. Now, obviously, we all know a 9-to-5 job is the most common job in a 5-day work week. And usually, the hours that we're going to that would be 40 hours a week. Now, obviously, if you end up working on a 4-day work week, chances are, unfortunately, is that employees are still going to have to be forced to follow the 40-hour work week, which means that there's a good possibility that companies may end up having to compress that schedule, which means you'll end up having to work 9 to 7 instead of 9 to 5, which means on the days that you may have to work, you may not end up having a whole lot of time to have some downtime at home. I don't like that. I personally would like to stick with the 9 to 5, even if it goes into a 4-day work week. I would prefer like 32 hours a week instead of 40, but in the end, you know, it's the workplace industry. You know, there are some things that have to happen, and so if they have to go to a 40-hour work week, unfortunately, some places are going to have to do that. And so as a result of that, everything is completely compressed. Everything has to get done in a certain amount of time. And not only that, if you already had plans set during this time, in this kind of 4-day work week, there's a good possibility that something else may be added onto your schedule. And as a result, it could force people to have to stay a little bit longer, even past 7, to finish everything up. And if that happens, there's a good possibility that they may not get done until the time that they're probably supposed to go to bed or something like that, which would mean absolutely no downtime whatsoever. And so while a 4-day work week could be a benefit, unfortunately, it does have to mean a compressed schedule. And unfortunately, that could lead to a lot more negatives that go along with it. And one of those is obviously stress. As I said before, a compressed schedule means everything will have to get done in a certain amount of time within the 10 hours or 8 hours if they was a day with a 9 to 5 setting in a particular amount of time. And that can produce a lot of stress. This means that it produces more urgency, unfortunately. This means that employees may be forced to have to work a lot harder. There's a little bit less time to have lunch or speak to your fellow colleagues or something like that. It means you have to focus a lot more on your computer, because chances are, in a 4-day work week, there's not a whole lot of time for you to be able to get everything done before the end of the week. I mean, I know there are some projects where in a 5-day work week is not really a whole lot of urgency, and they can pass that off to the next week to get it done. In a 4-day work week, week, there is really no sense of passing it off. Everything is urgent, and if you don't get it done in a certain amount of time, chances are you're going to get reprimanded for it, and you could end up getting into a whole lot of trouble. As a result, that causes a lot more stress, and that can carry on to your home when you get home, where you end up having arguments with your family, and you just feel like completely down, and you just don't want to do anything whatsoever. Trust me, there are going to be a lot of people's temperatures that are going to be boiling as a result of this, because everything is literally compressed into one schedule. And because of that, it may not work for everyone. Look, I know there are a lot of people that would probably be excited to potentially have a 4-day work week, but at the same time, the possibilities, as I just mentioned, having the schedule compressed to 40 hours a work week, as I mentioned before, to end up having to work 10 hours a day instead of your usual 8, and to have to get everything done in a certain amount of time, and to have a whole bunch of other unexpected things piled on top of that, that could produce a whole lot of stress, and that could create a lot more problems for those particular people. And that's why some people end up going into retail, or maybe some others end up trying to go into a more creative, more freelance job, like in TV or video production, or even photography or stuff like that, because they really don't want to risk having to be forced into that time period where they have to be forced to get everything done in a very short amount of time. It's just not going to work for a whole lot of people, and unfortunately, some people may end up quitting before they end up taking on that particular task. That's why I think that if you are going to go to a 4-day work week instead of a 5, that's why I still think you would prefer to go into a 9 to 5. Just make it 32 hours a week instead of 40, because that way it makes it a lot easier, and hopefully it gives you a lot more time to be able to get everything done. And also, with the help of friends along with colleagues as well that work there, you can be able to get everything done and still have a good time as well. But again, there's a lot of stress that comes into having to go into a 4-day work week, and if it stays at 40 hours a week, chances are there's going to be a lot of chaos that goes on as a result of it. And some people that work at an office level job, well, they probably just don't want to go into that. So yeah, those are just some of the pros and cons that go into something like a 4-day work week. Now, I find this topic to be a little interesting, because this is something that has only started to rise in popularity within the last few years or something like that. I know here in the US, it is very common to see everybody go into a 5-day work week when it comes to an office level setting like the job that I'm in. Of course, retail and freelance jobs, you're basically working 24/7 every day, but here in an office level setting, you have only a certain amount of time, and because it's 5 days, it's an extra day to have to get something done, which means less time on the weekend to enjoy, and some people may not like that. Now, before companies decide to implement something like this, I really think that they do need to consider whether or not they think this is a good idea, whether or not they think their employees will be able to thrive better under a 4-day work week rather than a 5-day work week, and consider all the positives and also some of the negatives that go into it. And trust me, there are a lot of negatives that can really overshadow the positives, but if implemented correctly, employees can have a lot more fun and enjoy their jobs while also getting to spend more time at home on the weekends for an extra day. So yeah, I think it's definitely an interesting topic. And so if you were to ask me, in my opinion, do I think it's time for companies in the US to implement a 4-day work week? In my opinion, I would definitely like to see some places give it a shot. Maybe those places that are high risk in engineering, or maybe even in a financial setting, or maybe in a more out of bounds way, a place where I work at, where like it's this non-profit musical arts organization, or maybe even a TV production company that implements a 9 to 5 schedule or something like that. Hey, I definitely do believe that there are some positives that could come away with it, and it could definitely produce to better motivation for employees. So in my opinion, I definitely believe it might be time for some to consider doing a 4-day work week, because it definitely could be a positive. But again, that's only if they think their employees will be more successful under this setting, and whether or not the employees themselves say that they could be more successful in it. And if they don't, then hey, you can pass that aside. But if you think there's an opportunity to make something happen in a 4-day work week, hey, it's definitely something that they should consider in the future. And I definitely believe that a lot of companies, if not all of them, should definitely look into doing a 4-day work week instead of the traditional 5-day work week. Look, the 5-day work week is a traditional thing. It's obviously the thing that every employee that works in an office level setting like I do has to go through. You obviously work 8 hours a day and obviously 40 hours a week, and usually during that time you just try to get as much done as possible. If you do a 4-day work week, there's a good possibility that there could be some success there with some of your employees and that your company may be able to thrive more, while other times, if it's implemented the wrong way, there's a chance that a lot of employees are probably going to leave the company and there's going to be a lot of stressful events that take place. Hey, it's definitely a controversial and probably very interesting topic, but I definitely find it to be something that should be worth considering. I definitely would like to see it happen, but again, I don't like it to be under 40 hours. Maybe switch it to 32 hours so that way it makes it a little bit more manageable and you have more downtime when you get home. But at the same time, I would definitely encourage taking a look at it, because I definitely do believe that there are some places here in the US that might be able to be more successful under a 4-day work setting. And really, if the employees are happy with it, I definitely believe that there's a chance for some success at that level. So while it's definitely not something that a lot of companies would look forward into doing, and maybe something that might be a little bit more uncomfortable with them, I definitely believe that a 4-day work week should be at least considered. And hey, maybe within the next few years or so, it may become an actual nationwide thing that becomes permanent. Who knows? It might come a lot sooner than that. So I definitely believe that it is time for companies here in the US to take a look at implementing a 4-day work week. Heck, even my job at New Jersey Symphony, I definitely believe that there is something that could be worked out under that particular scenario. But again, that's only if everybody does it right. So yeah, that's just my take on it. For those that work in an office level saying like I do, I would like to ask you, what do you think about this? Do you think that you could be more successful under a 4-day work setting? And more importantly, do you think it's time for major companies to implement a 4-day work setting? And do you think the pros outweigh the risks that come with it? Feel free to let me know down in the comments and I'll be more interested in hearing your opinions about it. Anyways, that's going to do it for another video. I hope you all enjoyed it. As always, if you'd like to see more of my content, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when my latest video is released. Comment below for future suggestions for all my videos, whether it's vlogs, projects, and challenges, you name it. Leave it in the comments below and I'll do my best to make them. As always, follow me on my social media. All the links are in the description below. That's going to do it for another midweek upload. I hope you're having another great day. And as always, I hope to see all of you again in another video very soon. So long, everybody.